Sending cold outreach will not scale your SMMA past 10K a month, so let me tell you what will. I've tried every single cold outreach method out there. Everything is bullshit to say the least, except this one strategy I used to successfully scale my agency from 0 to 10 and from 10 to 50K a month in only 5 months. But first of all, before we get into this new method, I need you to understand why cold outreach is a bullshit method. This is the most fundamental part of this video. First of all, it's not scalable. Sending 10,000 emails a month is not 10 times more difficult than sending 1,000 emails a month. It's 50 times more difficult. It's exponentially more complex because for every new email, you need new email addresses, you need new email inboxes, you need new proxies. Sourcing every new leads isn't as difficult as it was sourcing the previous lead. It's more difficult. So it just becomes more and more and more exponentially complex the more you scale it up. So at some point, it just breaks down and you're not able to scale the system any further. Reason number 2, it's time consuming. Your agency becomes a basically glorified freelance operation or just a glorified job. The moment you stop calling or sending emails, your acquisition stops. We want an acquisition machine that allows us to work on it, 30 minutes a week, not 4 hours a day. And reason number 3, it generates shit clients because when you are reaching out to people, you are asking them to do you a favor. The power dynamic is completely off. When they're jumping on a call, they're expecting you to prove yourself to them and not the other way around. So when they actually end up becoming a client, if they end up becoming a client, they are much more high maintenance. They don't give you any referrals. They're much less lenient to you if you fuck something up. And that leads to them having a higher churn. And lastly, worth noting as well, this strategy has a high CPA. So sending cold outreach, you might think that it is a free way to get clients, basically no cost to acquire customers, but it's not true. With time, you need an SDR, so you need a payroll for that SDR. You need to pay for the required softwares, but most importantly, this is about your time. The more your agency scales, the more you make per month, the more each hour of your time is worth. And of course, that's something that should be taken into account when you are selecting an outreach strategy, when you're trying to sign clients. If you spend 4 hours at this, let's say this is half your day, you spend 4 hours a day doing cold calling, cold email, all of that stuff, and you're making 20K a month, you're basically burning 10K a month in your personal time doing the strategy. So that's the biggest expense here. Yes, you can sign clients with cold outreach. I'm not saying it doesn't work completely, but those aren't the type of clients you want, and you will stagnate at 20K a month tops if you don't do it in the right way. So let's get into the actual strategy. The only cold outreach method that I've found to work consistently throughout the last 3 years are cold looms, cold personalized looms. So sending emails with personalized looms in the initial email. This is a gem that still goes under the radar for 95% of agency owners. I personally have sent over 5,000 personalized looms and booked over 200 qualified meetings with potential clients using the strategy. And as I said, scaled to 50K a month, closed over 50 clients using this exact strategy. The main idea is that you send a personalized loom video by email to every single cold prospect. So you don't send an email saying, hey, I recorded this personal loom video for you. Do you mind if I shoot it over? And then when they say yes, you actually go out and record it, because people aren't stupid. They know that that type of outreach means that you will record the video after they receive it, after you've said that you've recorded something. So you're lying to them on the first possible touch point, and it works the same way that every other cold email works, because you haven't put in any effort, and it's the exact same thing as the other 10, 20, 30 emails they're getting per day. That means that you won't ever have issues with exponential complexity, because you're not sending 10,000 emails a month using this strategy. You're only sending 50 a day, 30 a day. So you're not sending more than 1,000, 1.5K a month. So you will never run into issues with email deliverability or not having enough email inboxes, sourcing leads. It solves all of these issues because you're going very, very targeted at very specific people. You have a much higher booking rate, a much higher close rate. They become much better clients. And again, you don't need to blast the volume to actually make this work. You're only contacting the top 3% of brands you want to work with. So again, you're not spamming everyone. You're only going for the top of the brands you want to work with. So quickly explained, this isn't your typical cold outreach strategy because it leads with value and doesn't create the expectation of anything in return. You send a video, you give them value, it's personalized to them, it's personalized in the first email, so you don't ask them for permission. And again, at the end, you don't expect and ask for anything in return. You just say, hey, if you want to book a call, let's do it. If not, that's also completely fine. Zero pressure, so that if they actually end up booking, it's because they want to, because they found value, because they potentially want to work with you, and not because you forced them to do it through 10,000 emails and the super cool guarantee that guarantees that they're not going to pay you anything if you don't make any money in the like first 9 days. You know, all these like bullshit guarantees that kind of make you want to book, but not really. You don't really trust the person, but you want to hear what the guarantee is about. You don't attract those types of people. So let's go over how it works. The strategy is super simple. It's cold email, but with a twist. You attach a personalized 3-minute Loom video in every email you send out. So let's start with the lead generation. How do you actually find the leads to use in this strategy? So the workflow I like to use is to source the leads the day before you record the Looms. So in the evening, go through this process, generate 30 leads, and have them ready to be recorded the next day, because it is pretty painful. Nobody said that signing clients is going to be easy. This isn't a silver bullet that you click one button on and it begins, signing you tens of clients every single month. You still have to put in the efforts, and at times it's painful to do it. So I like to make it as easy as possible by having the leads ready and then recording the Loom videos the morning of. So when I was doing this actively, of course, now my agency does closer to 150K a month. So this isn't something we actively use right now. The mentees I work with quite a few agency owners, helping them scale their own agencies. They're actively doing it. Still works. But point is, when I was doing the strategy, I was waking up at 5 a.m. every single day for a year straight. So I was going to bed at about 8:30, waking up at 5 a.m. And then the first 2 hours of the day, just spamming these Loom videos. That was the first thing I did. Once it was done, I'd already known that I've done the most important work for that day, because I knew that from those Looms, I would book at least a couple calls, and from 2, 3, 4 days of sending Looms, I would close at least one client. So it's a no-brainer. Once you actually get the tracking sheets going, you know the numbers, and it's such an amazing feeling to know that you've done the most important work at the beginning of the day. You will sign clients from this, and then you can spend the rest of the day delivering results or building systems, hiring, whatever it is that you are focusing on in your agency. Second of all, after you generated the leads, just make sure to run them through a bounce check to ensure that none of them bounce. And by bounce, I mean that the email is basically undelivered. So sometimes people delete their email inboxes, they set up new spam filters, stuff like that. So if you don't check it through bounce and you actually end up sending them an email, first of all, you've wasted time recording the Loom video because they will never actually see it. But second of all, it's bad for your email deliverability, because every time an email bounces, it's basically a red flag for the email inboxes that you are spamming emails that don't exist or emails that don't accept new emails with your Loom. So just make sure to always run it through a bounce check. So the way we generate leads is through Apollo. Apollo is a software that scrapes LinkedIn and allows you to find people in very specific niches based on your very specific criteria. So first of all, we want to be looking for people, not companies. That's the first filter in Apollo. And I would use something like the following filters. Again, adapt this to your specific industry, to your specific niche. Be creative. They're always adding new targets, new job titles, new industries. So don't use this as a blueprint where you copy everything exactly, but this is approximately what I was using throughout sending those 5,000 Loom videos. So location, select the country that you are targeting. Industry, I'd go with something like retail, and then your custom ones, depending on your niche. It could be apparel and fashion, consumer goods, sporting goods, whatever it is, add it under the industry. Job titles, I would do CMO, CEO, performance marketing manager, just marketing manager, marketing, responsible for marketing, paid ads manager, everything that has to do with basically advertising online. So in this field, you can put in anything. It doesn't have to be predefined roles. You just put in anything that you think makes sense. So compile a list of at least 10 of those roles. Be creative. Again, just speak with ChatGPT, or ideally with Claude. ChatGPT is pretty shit now, and have it give you examples and ideas for at least 10 to 15 job titles that you add in here. Number of employees, I would do 1 to 100. With time, you can get fancier with, lookalikes and personas, where if you already have a list of, let's say, 300 leads that you know are qualified, you can create a lookalike audience from that and have Apollo give you new potential leads based on that list. But right now, just stick to the basics, keep it simple. Add these 4 criteria: location, industry, job titles, and number of employees. and we'll get more fancy down the line. Number 3, what you do here now, you've got this list filtered by Apollo. It's still not perfect. You still have to filter out the specific businesses you want to be targeting manually, because again, we only want to be targeting the best of the best, the top 3% of businesses. We don't want to be spamming everyone because it takes time to record those looms. So we want to make sure they go to the exact person you want to be working with. So what you do is you manually open each website in the list and check if it's valid. So what I was doing, I was opening about 10 websites in my browser and then just clicking through them, saving the ones that I liked and just closing the ones that I didn't like, so that I, at the end, had a list of 30 qualified websites that I wanted to work with. So remember, we're only sending 30 looms a day, so each one has to be a relevant prospect. You'd rather spend 10 additional minutes doing the lead sourcing here, making sure the leads are actually qualified, versus then spending time recording 30 looms to completely irrelevant prospects. So it's very high leverage to spend time on this at this stage. If the site is valid, add the following info to the sheet you copied earlier. So at the top here, you will find the sheet. If you want access to this entire breakdown, DM me on Instagram. I'll send you the entire document, so you can just copy all the documents for sourcing the leads, doing all the bounce checks, the CRM, everything is in here. So you copy this list, and when you find a relevant prospect, you add the contact person's first and last names. You add their direct email. You don't want to be using info at or help at or support at emails. You want to be targeting those people directly. You add the URL of the website and you add the name of the company without any LLC or similar prefixes. So if it's, let's say, Happy Dad LLC, you just add Happy Dad, because this is going to be populated into the emails when they're automatically sent. And it looks pretty weird if you say, hey, John, I checked out Happy Dad LLC .com, whatever, and I see you guys are doing XYZ. Just use the actual company name. And lastly, check if every lead is running ads on Facebook or Google, if that's relevant for you, if that's a service you offer, in their ad libraries, and add that to the sheet. We will find you a VA to do this stuff soon, but you have to understand the process first. So do it on your own initially, and then with time, you can outsource it to a VA or an SDR, or however we decide to develop this system down the line. Lastly, as I said, check the bounce. So export all the emails to a separate CSV file, only the emails. Upload it to Never Bounce. If an email is marked in red, something like invalid, replace that lead in your sheet with a new brand. If not, keep them. If they're gray, if they're yellow, if they're green, just keep them, because Never Bounce only can specifically say when an email will bounce, but sometimes it's a bit unsure, and we want to keep those that we are unsure about. So that's how you generate leads. You use this process, you generate 30 leads a day, then we want to actually record the looms. Once I got used to this process personally, recording 30 looms took me approximately 2 hours a day. So it's not a huge time investment. And again, for the ROI you're getting here, especially at the beginning when you're trying to scale your agency to the first 10, 20, 30K a month, this is the highest leverage thing you can do. So the way we do it is that we first just have to prepare your setup. We have to make sure that your background is nice, your audio is nice, all of that stuff. And then we go through the list and record videos for each, one at a time. So the script is as follows. And let me just preface this with the strategy. The strategy behind these looms is to go through the brand's ad libraries and comment on the things you would improve if you were managing the ad. So it's very personalized. You don't just talk to the camera with their website open. You actually go into their ad libraries and you actually give them feedback on what they can improve and what you would improve specifically if you were working in the ad account. Remember, you're just giving value and you're not expecting anything in return. So don't be salesy, don't be pushy. You just want to give value. And if they want to book a call with you, they will. Trust me, they do. So the script is as follows. I'll run through it quickly. You say, hey John, Alex here. Hope all is well. I don't usually record videos like this, but I took a look at your company's ad libraries and found quite a few areas for improvement that I'd like to bring to your attention. I'll just jump straight into it. So you don't want this intro to be more than 15, 20 seconds. You say, I'll jump into it. Let's start with Facebook. You go to the ad library on Facebook where you already have all their ads pulled up, and you begin commenting on them. And it's always the same 3 to 5 things you comment on. I have added a couple examples here. So with time, you will understand it. In the beginning, you maybe need to do a slight bit of research before you actually start the video. But again, just select one of these 3 that is the most relevant and talk about that. With time, you will find your own that you can comment on, but don't overthink this part. The idea is to just give them value. You don't want to be nitpicky where you're just saying, hey, you have a typo here, let me manage your ads. Instead, you want to talk about slightly broader topics. But again, the people you're sending these videos to most likely don't understand meta ads too well. That's why their meta ads are shit. That's why you are recording a video for them. So don't be too complex. Don't use too many words related to marketing, because you want to be taking over the ads because they don't know how to manage them themselves. It's that simple. Same with Google. You already have a list of 6 potential things you can comment on in the ad account. So just select the ones that are the most relevant in that specific ad account that you are analyzing. Then you say, anyways, I can keep talking about marketing for hours. I love marketing, as you can tell, but I'm not going to waste more of your time. You get the point. There is quite a bit of a room for improvement on both Google and Facebook. So I'd like to jump on a quick meeting with you just to get to know you and your company a bit better. But just so you are aware, we are being booked out pretty heavily. So I can't promise that I will make you an offer, but if everything works out well, we can discuss managing your ads. So you explain what the goal with the meeting is, but again, you don't actually tell them, let's jump on a call. I only have 5 calls left. You want to make sure that they understand that if they jump on a call, maybe you won't make them an offer, because it's not good for you either to be signing clients that don't align with your ICP. So if you jump on the call and it turns out that they're not spending enough, or the person is just a dickhead, like they're super difficult to work with, that also sometimes happens. You feel their energy on the call. You don't want to have them expecting for you to make an offer. It's just an intro call to get to know each other, and we want to pre-frame it that way. Lastly, you say, let me know if that sounds interesting, and I'll send you a link to my calendar where you can book a quick meeting based on what time fits you best. If not, have a great day, and I wish you the best. So again, not pushy at all. You say, if you want to book a call, I'll send a link. If not, that's also completely fine. Have a good day. Before recording, number 1, make sure your screen has no distraction. So the way I'm recording my screen now, you don't have, notifications popping up, or you don't have tons of different tabs on the top. Keep it clean. Make sure there are no distractions. Choose the 1080p setting on Loom. This is important because automatically it selects the 720p setting and the quality will be pretty crap. Number 3, make sure your audio is good. You don't need studio grade audio, but constant like static noise or a child screaming in the background or something like that will immediately make them click off the video. So just make sure your audio is okay, passable. It doesn't have to be amazing, but just no negatives in the background. Number 4, look presentable. So wear a nice t-shirt, style your hair, or wear a cap. And importantly, don't have a bed in the background. I know I'm kind of going against that here with the bed in the background. I'm at a hotel room, so there's not much I can do about that, but you get the point. When you are recording at home, just make sure that you don't have your bed in the background. This looks like a hotel room, so I would be able to send a Loom here, but if you're at home in your parents' basement and you have a bed in the background, it's pretty obvious pretty quickly. Number 5, speak slow and relaxed, but enthusiastic at the same time. Act like you just, stumbled over their website and you randomly wanted to record a video, kind of like I'm doing here. I'm leaning back in my chair. I'm relaxed. I'm not stressed. My heart isn't beating. I'm not speaking super fast, but I'm still enthusiastic. I'm still energetic. Try to have that same kind of vibe in your videos. I like personally to start the video performing an action, like taking off my glasses or putting my microphone on my shirt to make it look authentic. So it could be something like you have a bottle here, for example, you begin recording and you maybe like take a quick sip, or you just like close the bottle, you put it to the side to make it look like you were just browsing the web, you stumbled on their website, and now you want to record a quick video. It isn't pre-planned, because if everything looks perfect like it does now, then it's pretty obvious that I'm actually sitting down to record videos. You don't want to give off that vibe. And lastly, pin the Google Sheet with the leads in the top in the browser, so that the leads don't see that you have a spreadsheet open. Because if you just have a tab called Loom leads or something like that in the top, that kind of breaks the whole magic of this being a random video that you just randomly record. So have it pinned so that they don't see the title of the sheet. How you actually record the Looms, you open up Facebook and the Google Ads libraries, if relevant, for the brand you are recording the video for. You open the leads website, you begin recording with their website on the front. So the way Loom works is that you will be in the corner in a small bubble, and then their website will take up the rest of the screen. You have to remember the lead's first name, but you will only have to say it once. So at the beginning of the video, you say, hey, John, or hey, Michael, or whatever it is, and then you don't have to say it anymore throughout the video. I know some cold outreach specialists say that you should say their names several times throughout the video, but for me, it just sounds overbearing. If I say like, hey, Michael, I found some pretty cool ideas for you, Michael. I've checked out your brand, and Michael, I have some really cool ideas. Like, you see that sounds a bit weird. If you're Michael and I'm saying your name like every 30 seconds, it just sounds overbearing. So say it once at the beginning and keep it like that. Then you record a personalized video for each person following the script above. You replace the title of the Loom with the name of the person. So once you're done recording, it will appear in a new tab because Loom automatically uploads it to their website. You just have to copy the link and share it with your prospect. So replace the title of the Loom with that person's name and add the Loom link to your leads CRM. Let's keep rolling. Sending out the looms. So we have sourced the leads, we've recorded the looms. Now we have to actually send out the looms. I need a quick sip of water. The workflow here is that you export the looms, so the loom sheet you have, to a CSV. You set up Lemlist, you upload that list to Lemlist, and then Lemlist will do the rest of the work for you. So Lemlist is an email marketing software. We will set up some flows. I will give you the exact flow to copy here. And then once you recorded the looms, you don't have to actually manually send every single email. You just upload the list with all of your Loom videos to Lemlist, and then Lemlist will send it up, send them out. It will follow up on them, and then you will mark them as either a lead or not lead in Lemlist. So it's kind of like a CRM to manage who has received an email, who answered, who didn't. So it's exporting the looms to a CSV. I'm not going to go through this, just read through it. Super simple. You click File, you click Download. Lemlist setup. This is interesting. So now it's time to set up the email templates in Lemlist that will be sent to our leads. We want the email to look like the video is embedded. So this is a pretty cool trick. I've never actually seen anyone else do it. So the cool thing with Lemlist is that you can make personalized images for every single lead you send out the video to. So you add a video embed looking thingy. So basically you have email, you have the email, you have text on the top, you have text on the bottom, and in the middle you will have a basically fake preview window where it has the website of the lead. You have you in the corner, and then it has a big play button in the middle. It's just an image. It looks like there's an actual video embedded in the email, and if they click on that image, they will be sent to the Loom. So it kind of like clickbaits people to clicking on that image and then getting them to actually check out the video. So what you need to do is register a Lemlist user. You follow the onboarding process and connect your email account. In the settings and sending settings, you want to set up a signature. This is the template that I use. You want to set up a tracking domain. Just follow Lemlist instructions. So make sure you have a tracking domain. You open this specific link and you make a copy of my sequence. So this sequence includes one initial email and 3 follow-ups. So this is the exact sequence that I was sending when I was doing Looms actively myself. Just copy it and of course tweak it to match your offer, to match your tone of voice, the way you speak. You don't want to be using my exact email, but this is a great starting point. So just copy that and do the tweaks from there. You don't have to write it from scratch. Then change the picture. So you will see when you copy that sequence, the picture that I was just talking about that looks like a preview of a video. In the corner, you're going to have a picture of me because this is my sequence, but just take a picture of yourself kind of in action like you would be when you are recording a Loom. Make it a circle and then replace my picture with yours directly in Lemlist. It happens directly in Lemlist as one of the layers of that picture. So for the Lemlist setup, in the newly created Lemlist campaign, click the lead list button on the top right, click import new leads and upload the CSV file that we exported previously. Again, I'm not going to walk through all the technical settings here. You can read through it if you'd like, but this is basically just how we upload our list to Lemlist and have it ready to be sent out automatically by the software. When people begin answering your emails, Lemlist will ask you to mark the replies as either positive or negative. You can do this once a week usually. Just sit down on Friday or Saturday or just once a week, go through the list and mark everyone as either interested or not interested based on the responses. And what that will give you is actual numbers as percentages. So if you sent out 100 emails, you will see that 25% were interested, 30% were not interested, 10 booked a call, 10% booked a call, 5% ended up closing. It basically becomes a CRM for you to manage all of your cold outreach. So that happens through the tasks tab on the left in Lemlist. That's it for sending out the Looms. Now we also want to track the metrics. So this is super important because there is no way to improve a system if you don't know the metrics behind that system. So we want to have a proper system for tracking metrics, for making sure we know how many emails we send, how many were opened, how many replied, how many booked, how many closed, so that you can always just look at your sheet and know exactly where your bottleneck is to know what to work on. So fundamentals. It's very important that you track data from at least 24 hours ago. If you track how many looms were watched like 5 minutes after you send out the looms, in 99% of cases, it's just going to be zero. So you always want to give it at least 24 hours before you go in and actually log those numbers. And therefore, after sending out all the outreach for the day, we will be tracking the metrics for the looms we sent out yesterday. So that's kind of the process. The evening before, you source the leads, then you record the videos, and then you track the metrics for the videos you sent out the day before. So you make a copy of this document. It is a tracking sheet in Google Drive. Super simple, just copy it. You fill in how many cold emails you sent. You fill in how many were seen, how many replied, how many booked in a call. Super simple. Again, not going to go through every single step here, but read through it if you would like. Lastly, iterating on the script. So we want to make this process better for every single time, right? So 1 week we send out a certain script with a certain email sequence, and then we improve on it, and maybe we get a slightly higher click-through rate or a slightly higher booking rate. And the way we do it is by looking at the numbers in the tracking sheet, finding the bottleneck, finding out what the actual issue there is. So let's say you have a pretty low open rate, so people just aren't opening your emails, then you either have an issue with your email deliverability, or you have an issue with your headline. So it's just not interesting for people. People aren't clicking it. Same way you can analyze every single metric and find like the core deepest reason behind why it is lacking. The workflow is that you define the biggest bottlenecks and then you just do the change to fix it. So defining the biggest bottleneck, look at your sheet, see where the biggest drop off is, and just compare it to this list. If you have a low open rate, you probably have a weak email headline. If you have a low Loom view rate, then you have a weak email copy. People are opening your email, but they're not actually clicking through to see the Loom. If you have a low positive reply rate, you have a poor angle or too little value in the email. If you have a low appointment booking rate, you have a poor offer or a CTA. And if you have a low shop rate, then you don't have the correct follow-ups before the actual meeting. That's kind of outside the scope of this specific video, but still a metric worth tracking. Then you just make the change. So you define exactly what the goal of the change is. So let's say you have a low Loom view rate. You figure out where in the email stuff is going wrong, where people are dropping off. You define exactly what you're going to do about it. You can also make a list. So usually there can be several options for what can go wrong. We only want to be making one change at a time, because if you change several things, you're not actually going to know which of the changes led to the result. So if you change the email copy and then your Loom view rate either goes up or down, then you're going to know exactly, I did this change, this was the result. But if you do 5 changes, then you're not going to know which change actually led to which result. Maybe one of them increased the Loom view rate, but the other one decreased it. So overall, it's neutral, but you actually had a positive change in there, if that makes sense. So always do one change at a time, make a list of all the possible changes, and then select the highest leverage one based on your expertise. That's it. This is the exact outreach strategy that got my agency from 0 to 10K a month and from 10K a month to 50K a month in only 5 months. If you want my help with scaling your agency, click the link below. It is a VSL video designed to sell you something. Other than that, thank you for watching and have an amazing week.